Yeah. It's going to go up. And there it is. So we're going to, hey, everybody, welcome to Sustainiacs. I'm Michael Vincent. I'm always a Sustainiac, and so are these other people, but I discover them all over the place. And one of them I discovered, or she discovered me. I can't remember which was. Maybe somebody introduced us. I think I was stalking Sustainiacs on LinkedIn and found you is what it is. I think that's what it is. She's Kathy Sue McGuire, and she's a Sustainiac in hospitality, which is fantastic because I look for different things. Like I had a guy who was doing uh, urban vertical farming uh, just for the culinary, for the chefs in New York. That's it. Just for a few block radius that was there. And then I had a guy on in Florida where you're at. You went to UCF. He's brewing worm poop and making it into
I
a
might I
fertilizer.
might know him. What's his name?
Baker. His
No,
last
that's
name is
not the one.
Baker. He's in Baker County up there on I-4, along, or not I-410, going into Jacksonville,
Yeah,
named after his great. He's like fourth generation, fifth generation Floridian or something like that,
nice.
which is
It's important work.
it is very important work. It's very cool. But you are you specialize, excuse me, in Green Key Global Hotel Certification. So it's sustainable hospitality solutions. And you have a podcast too, which I just learned of, which is fantastic. But you're president and CEO of Sustainable Hospitality Solutions and a whole bunch of, I mean, there's a host of things here. Sustainable administration for the PGA National Resort, which is cool. I've been there. And the LPGA, which is just a bit north of you too, right?
Yeah,
LPGA is a little bit further north, like Daytona-ish, right?
I'm not exactly sure where they're located now.
Yeah. Anyways, it's great to have you on the show. What do you do? Who are you? Why do we care? I love this.
Well, I started about let's see, 2007 when
Yeah.
things were just starting to open up and people were thinking about it. As you said,
About sustainability, about putting a sustain.
in
I got you.
hospitality, yes. And
Oh, okay.
I was working at PGA National Resort, and I headed up went to the boss and said, hey, can we start a recycling program? And then it kind of grew from there. And we were the first resort or hotel to achieve two certifications, the Event Industry Council's accommodations and venue standard. So we got third party certified to that. And then our golf course, the champion course, where the Honda Classic was played, achieved the GEO, which is out of Scotland, certification for sustainable golf course management. And we won an award from the International Association of Golf Tour Operators as the most sustainable golf course in all of the Americas. So that's what
What?
I did while I was there for 10 years. And then I decided to go out on my own and do this for other hotels. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Wow. That's really cool. So I mean, you saw that people were doing. What was the catalyst? You just say, "Hey, you know what? This is cool." You just woke up and you're driving to work and you say, "Hey, you know what? This sounds interesting." Or was there an epiphany? What was the event that said, "You know what? Sustainability. We got to do this."
Well, I didn't know it at the time, but in 1986, I lived in England with my then husband, and he worked for Pratt and Whitney, and so we lived there for
Okay.
3 years. And the first time I went to the grocery store, all of the women had their own bags, shopping bags for their groceries,
Hmm.
and I didn't, and I had to pay 3 pence per plastic bag. And this is back in 1986. So when we came home, I went back to work for the telephone company where I had worked 10 years, for 10 years before that. And I started the first recycling program in the state of Florida for AT&T. It was known as Bell South back then.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I remember.
that was pretty cool. Did that. And then and I guess just being looking at all the waste at the telephone company, paper wise, telephone books back then when we had these humongous telephone books, you had white
Oh
pages
yeah,
and then
I
yellow pages.
remember.
Yeah, I would be old enough to remember that. And
I
so,
remember looking people up in it when they were actually useful or going, "Hey, we need something. Let's look in the yellow pages."
exactly. And
Yeah.
so I won the Count on Me Award of Excellence for the county of Palm Beach County. And then I was entered into the competition for the state and I won that. So that was
Oh
very
wow.
meaningful. And I guess that just kind of, those circumstances in my life. When I went to work for the hotel, I just looked around, I just saw a lot of waste. Coming from a family that didn't have much money, I mean, I remember brushing our teeth with baking soda when we ran out of toothpaste. So,
Right. Oh
uh,
yeah. 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 My wife still
waste
makes
was,
fun of me because I will use the toothpaste until there's absolutely nothing inside of it.
I do that
I
too.
mean,
I'll even,
I put it on the counter and I scrape it until it comes to the end. I mean, I'm the one
I'll
who's got
even cut it
my
and
ketchup bottles, my dressing bottles are all upside down, getting the last little bit drop to come. Yeah,
I do that too. I even cut the toothpaste in half, to squeeze it through the
there's
middle to get it.
nothing. There's nothing wrong with us at all, Kathy.
Yeah, exactly.
We are the
Little
ones that are right.
little OCD there, I guess. So I started this at PGA, and I fell in love with it, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing
But
today.
let me ask you. I mean, it sounds like you and I are into this for kind of the same reasons, and the reasons differ. Although everything is, in my opinion, uh, mostly it's very positive for the planet and the environment, right? I mean, because some of the motivations is purely just money, right? People jump on fads and they do things and stuff like that. But it sounds like you got into this because it was obviously the right thing to do, even business wise. Like you're like, wait, this is business 101. Get rid of waste. You improve the business, you improve people's lives, and you improve their impact on the environment. Am I reading you correctly or am I like way off?
Well, early on, maybe it was about the environment, but you know what? Nature will take care of herself.
Yeah.
And
Oh, we're not going to destroy the environment. We just won't be able to live in it.
no,
The
so
environment will
when
still be here. The
yeah,
environment's
so
not
when
going away.
I mean, people still use the term "save the planet," but it's not about saving the planet. It's really about
No,
saving the resources that we need to survive as human beings, and that includes,
exactly.
flora, fauna, animals, all of that sort of thing. And I guess
And
that
golf courses. We need golf courses.
the I actually never picked up a
In my
golf club.
opinion, in my opinion, we do.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I actually never picked up a golf club in the whole
what? Come
in 10
on, you
years.
worked there in 10 years at the
It
PGA and you didn't.
No, it never interested me, but and it
No
also it's
desire.
too
No
hot.
desire. Well, I'll give you that. Most of the year, it's too hot down there. But that's when you get to play
Yeah.
really good golf courses for cheap. Like you
Yes,
could,
that's true. After 2 o'clock. And
you can get on Tiburon for like $15 in Naples at 2 o'clock in July.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
Anyway, I digress.
I just find I I hesitate to say this, and I haven't said this publicly yet, but I've been contemplating it. It's like I wish we'd get rid of the word sustainability because it just turns off so many business people. It's like, oh my God, here we go again. It's really business resilience. I mean, if you want to succeed, continue to succeed and grow in your business, you really have to look at these issues because, first of all, it can save you a lot of money. Secondly, it's
Mm,
what travelers are asking for. I mean, if you look at surveys, worldwide surveys at booking.com and Expedia and the others, they,
mm.
it's in the 85%. People want to
Yeah.
stay at an eco-conscious hotel.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I mean, especially if they go to somewhere that is exotic, right? If you go to like the islands or something like this, you don't want to go there and have the feeling that you're like this elite that's just using it as I'm going to extract as much uh, you know enjoyment out of it and leave crap behind. You know what I mean? That's just not. I think people are more conscious and aware of that than they are now,
There,
right? Go into the forest and leave nothing but footprints, right?
yes, exactly. In fact, I wish I could remember the name. There's a small island in the Pacific where you have to sign a declaration before it's like a passport that they have. You have to sign a declaration and watch a video on the plane of all of the right things to do for the environment while you're
Oh, no.
there. Yes. And you have to
Wow.
sign that as a declaration that you will respect,
And they
you
make
know,
you they make you sign it while you're on the plane en route.
yeah.
So what if you don't say they
I
turn you
think
around?
yeah,
What?
yeah, I
Nobody's going
think
to
so.
refuse that to sign that, are they?
Exactly. So,
Can you
yeah,
imagine this person didn't sign it? Get
a little
out.
pressure, but it's pretty cool. And there's a lot of over tourism going on, and people are looking at that sort of thing. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, as mindful as businesses can be, especially the hospitality industry,
Yeah,
that tends to think that giving a great guest experience is, having conveniences like single use items, cups and bottles and
sure,
things like that.
sure.
But what we're learning is that you can offer a great guest experience by doing some of these sustainability things. Um,
You
you
know,
don't have to have
there are. No, please go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no,
I thought you
like
were finished.
you don't have to have just single use disposable cups by the pool. You could have acrylic, and there's something new that's come along called wheat straw. They're reusable, they're washable, and it's a higher end guest experience.
So
Even if
there's a gentleman down in your neck of the woods, kind of near your neck, getting towards your neck of the woods, yeah, out of Naples, Florida, actually. Reroute Americas. Are you familiar with Reroute America?
no, I'm not.
You guys need to know each other. You're both in the same business. His name's Patrick Bishop. I can make the introduction after this. So
Okay.
he bought a company and he's distributing um, straws and cutlery and that type of stuff for hospitality and different venues that are made out of agave fibers.
Uh huh.
So the fibers
Interesting.
from that are left over from the process of making tequila and that type of stuff. So they're all 100% compostable. Really cool stuff. I'll make the intro. You guys need to know each other. Yeah, I see what you're
In,
saying. But they're
in Palm Beach County, we're not allowed uh, commercially. Commercial businesses are not allowed to compost
on
where
site.
I live.
They they have to
No,
send them
well,
away, or they're not allowed to even
no,
use compostable stuff.
there's no. If you wanted to save your food waste and do something good with it, you can't because it's not allowed. We're not allowed to have a composting facility, even a commercial composting facility. If a hotel wanted to save its waste, food waste, and have somebody pick it up and take it to that facility, there is no facility. And there have been some people who've told me that the reason for that is we have a waste to energy plant and they need to feed it.
Well,
Um,
that's I've run across that in many municipalities, and people stuck in contracts that were good at one time that aren't so good anymore, but are still there. Right? If you divert the volume, even for a good reason, it hurts somebody's pocketbook, and therefore you're stuck.
somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's where follow the money, and that's where it
So
is.
yeah,
It's
so having compost, for us to have compostable cups and things like that, um,
yeah.
you can't compost inside of a plastic bag under in a landfill. It doesn't get
No,
the
that doesn't
air and the
work.
sunlight
Uh-uh.
to yeah.
No,
So
it has to
it's
go to a specific facility. A lot of people don't understand that. Compostable doesn't mean you go bury it in your rose garden. It doesn't work that way.
same with biodegradable.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
two are different. It just doesn't happen.
No, it needs to go. It needs to be. It needs to be. I mean, it needs the processing just like you need to do the plastics. It's just the end of it once it does get processed is theoretically better than the plastic breakdown. Of course, you can prove or disprove anything, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
can look and find a study that shows that a increase in man-made polymer fibers was less detrimental to a worm population than an introduction of compostable natural fibers
Yeah, and that's true.
outside the normal levels, right? Outside the normal levels, right? Yeah.
Well, anytime we're not drilling for oil and using that for these products is a good thing. So
Yeah.
alternatives to that are good, even if they don't. Their end of life isn't what it's purported to be in many areas, anyway.
In many instances, and we sprint on these. You know what? One of the and maybe it doesn't interest you at all, but we're not here to interest you. We're here to interest everybody else. But
Right.
seriously, I have a big. So when you started at the or not the LPGA, the PGA. So I've never played PGA National. I played the LPG courses up Daytona Beach way back in the day. Maybe 10, 15 years ago. Played all of those and love that facility up there. It's fantastic, mainly because I can go right to the beach afterwards. But they're also great courses. What is that like at that type of a facility? Was it recycling of waste, or were there sustainability initiatives around the groundskeeping? Because I imagine there's a lot of changes or concerns there with how the grass is kept. The turf, is it called, what is it called, is it called turfology? I mean, Penn State University, I live near there, is a really good school to go to for that type of stuff. I know they have a great program for like golf, for groundskeeping and stuff like that, and turf management. I think it's called turf management. But is there concerns there in the sustainability, what's being used on the turf and that type of thing?
Well, yes, because there's a lot of herbicides and fungicides and pesticides and things like
Right.
that are used. One of the one of the good things at PGA was that the irrigation came from the lake, and it wasn't,
Right.
filtered city water, drinkable city water that was being put on the golf
Now,
course.
by the lake, are you talking about Okeechobee, or are you
No,
talking about just
no,
lakes that were around it?
the man-made lakes on the property.
I got you. Okay, got you.
Yeah,
Got you. Got you.
lots of those. There were, they have 4 golf courses within that community as a residential community of PGA National.
Right.
So,
Right.
well, one thing is the containers, these big plastic jugs, that these herbicides, pesticides, and things like that came in. We did gather those up, and a company came to take those to turn them into pellets to make other products. So at least it was a repurposing kind of thing. So that was good. The GEO organization, Golf Environment Organization out of Scotland, um, their program is very good, and there are many golf courses, across the world that are certified to their standard, and that's more
Mm,
sustainable golf course management. They also have a
got
tournament. They also have a tournament standard that you can get certified to. And I tried for years to get the Honda Classic to do that,
now,
but
now that's got to be along post consumer waste, right?
I'm
The
sorry.
tournament standards. Like the tournament standards, if you're going to host a tournament, that's waste. That's actual management of the waste produced during the tournament, right? To get that
Yeah,
certification.
that's a big part of it, but not all of it.
Yeah.
If you look
Okay.
at waste management, the Phoenix Open,
Yeah.
they have the best program of all, of course, because they're in the business of waste. But
Yeah.
it's about diverting as much as possible from a landfill or incinerator.
Right.
So if you ever want
Right.
to look at sustainable golf, that's a pretty good bellwether for it.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun tournament, anyways. I always love that tournament. I think it's
Yeah.
like the model for live golf now. The which gets a bit, which I can't stand that golf, anyways. But it does. Anyway, we're not here to talk about my opinions on the live tour. But so you made a switch to hospitality. Did you just thought, hey, I'm going to take this to other resorts? You just decided, you know what, I've got something here. I've learned this. You've basically built or pioneered a new vertical within sustainability in the United States or even the Americas, as you were talking about, which is fantastic. And so, what was that like transitioning to try and go out and get other people involved in this?
one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah, I bet.
It's
Because they're
it's
like, no, we don't need to spend that money, therefore we're not going to spend money. They saw it as a revenue suck, right?
yes, and it was. I can give you an give you an example. Over the 10 years, I saved uh, the resort $1.3 million over 10 years.
Oh man.
And I went to my boss and I said, why is it that if you're a salesperson and you sell a big group and you bring in all this revenue, you get a pat on the back, they hand you a cigar and a scotch. I said, but if you
Yeah.
save money, it's like nothing, right? So
Yeah.
and I remember my boss telling me, he said, well, that's really kind of not how it works. It's like the revenue is the main thing, because that's how, I guess, the revenue is where, in hospitality there are lots of layers of management. You have owners who are usually real estate investors. Well, they don't know anything about running a hotel, so they hire a management company that manages hotels, and these
Yeah.
management companies have a lot of different hotels and different brands in their portfolio, and they have
Right.
asset managers that they send to particular properties. Then you have the general manager and everybody who works at the hotel. So in order to get things done, it has to go up all through these levels, and so it's really hard, um, to get to yes, and especially if when they say, well, nobody's asking us for it, so why
Right.
should we change? Why should we do it? I remember when an asset manager from the owners came in, and walked by my desk, and I said, hey, Jim, how would you like to save $65,000 a year? He said, done. What is it? And I said, if we switch from, I said, if we switch from single use toiletries in the guest rooms to bulk dispensers, I said, you can save $65,000 a year. He said, how much is it going to cost me? I said, $50,000 one time to buy all the product and the dispensers, and have backup dispensers. And he said,
Right.
yeah, let's do it. And now I had asked my direct boss if we could do that, and he said no. So I kind of went over his head when the owners came in and just,
Yeah, and that gets into the perception of culture within the organization that you got to fight. It's not even the actual culture; it's the perception of the culture that stagnates different things,
well,
right?
yes. And one of the other things I did was, I'm sorry that you can hear the lawn people
That's all right.
outside. Okay. Um, so one of the other things I did was, AAA has the Diamond program, right, for
Yeah,
hotels, and you can get 3, 4, 5 diamonds depending, on your hotel property, and
right.
they would not allow those kinds of refillable containers in the guest rooms because they thought they were more YMCA type of environment. So anybody who had 3 diamonds or above could not do that. And I called up and got the vice president on the phone, and he goes, "You know what? We need to change that." And so they did. So we were able to do that.
I like those when I see them in a hotel.
Yeah,
I
you're
like
not fumbling around and dropping the little bottles, and I don't know why anybody wouldn't like those. And they're secure. They're locked now. Nobody can tamper with them. You know,
that's right, and a lot of them are pretty high end stuff. Actually, it doesn't mean it
yeah,
has to
they're
be
very
low end
attractive.
product. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting because saving money should be there. It should be a goal, but also understand the fact that if you make a sale or you bring in a group, that you get that one time revenue, but it's a multiplier, right? Nobody saves $60,000, and that's something that the public goes, oh, we're going there because they saved $60,000,
Right, right.
right? but they are
it's
going there
the
because
guest
they go, you know what? I
experience.
went there on this one event. I went to this place at this convention, or I went there on this event. We got to go. That one sale can multiply into others and does multiply into others, right?
Yeah.
That's an interest. That's a very interesting point, and that's changing. And right, because now if you do it and the story is told, is marketed in some way, like you said before, there's 85% of the world travelers who are going to think that's a positive. So now saving that money through the sustainability programs, et cetera, is a revenue multiplier, right?
Yes, and not only that, it's there are two things. One, the Global Business Travel Association has come out with a standard for meeting planners to use, and for businesses that maybe have their own in-house, managers, meeting managers,
Oh,
to scout locations and to set up the conference or whatever it is. They have a standard now that these people can send out an RFP and say, "Do you meet this standard? Check all these boxes. What do you got going on there?" So that's one
no,
thing
okay.
in favor of pushing this forward. The other is that the online travel agents, led by Travelist, they all got together and decided, they all had their platforms where they had the checklist. Are you recycling? Do you buy sustainable seafood? And that sort of thing. But it was all, independent. Everybody just checked boxes that they wanted to. There were no checks and balances, no certification. So they got together and they decided no more will we say that you're a sustainable hotel unless you're third party audited to a particular standard. And they decided which
Mm,
standards worldwide. They vetted them, and they all needed to have an independent auditing firm check everything you say you're doing that you're actually
gotcha.
doing. So now you don't get that green leaf or that sustainable hotel listing. If you're filtering, you say, I want a sustainable hotel in West Palm Beach,
Yeah.
your hotel won't come up. So it's an incentive, although hotels don't like the third parties because they lose money. They have to pay these online travel agents, OTAs. So those two things, the groups on the group side and on the leisure traveler side, is finally they're saying you've got to be vetted. You can't just say you're doing these things anymore.
Wow. I love it. So, no, okay. So let me ask you this. Does that do you perform those audits? What are you doing at Sustainable Hospitality Solutions? What is the process there? Are you doing the certification, or are you helping people put in the things to be certified,
The
or
latter.
what are you doing there? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
explain.
I
What
go
do you
in
guys
and
do?
I do an assessment, like a gap analysis, and I look at all of their operations and their purchasing. And it's not just about environmental, it's also social. So it's environmental and social responsibility. Are you giving back to your community? Are you paying your employees well? Do you provide benefits and different things like that? And so I do an assessment to see where they are. And then I go to a certification, which I've chosen Green Key because, frankly, it's the only one in North America. All the other certifications are in Europe and Asia and elsewhere. So, but the American Hotel and Lodging Association last year decided to co-own Green Key, which is a program that was created in 1994 by the Hotel Association of Canada. So now
Mm,
ALA co-owns it. They're promoting it. Um, and I would imagine they may have given an influx if they co-owned it, maybe, gave them some money for additional marketing and things like that. So I chose that one. And so that's the one I measure a hotel against is where are you along the lines of this certification? And then we'll implement what they're able to either afford or things that they can change to get the highest score because the Green Key program offers a 1 key to 5 keys, depending on how much you're doing, so that you can continuously improve. At least it gets your foot in the door and then you continuously improve each year. And the certification lasts 3 years. So
mm.
the Green Key has contracted with a third party, an auditing firm, which is actually called Control Union, and they're in Plantation, Florida. west of Fort Lauderdale. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know exactly where it is.
yeah, once you submit your assessment, and they'll tell you how many keys you will earn, they contact the auditing firm, and the auditing firm will either come in person for a fee, or for a lesser fee, you take around your tablet, your iPad, or whatever, and you spend 4 hours touring the property and showing that auditor virtually everything that he or she needs to see to make sure that
Yeah.
what you said on your assessment is actually in place and implemented.
Okay. So you can't just apply and they go, "Oh, this application looks great." They come and investigate the whole thing.
Yes. So no more self assessments.
Well, I mean, you can't prevent self assessments, but
No, if
the
somebody
stand
wants to do that
is,
on their own, but
yeah.
there's no
I mean,
credibility
they
behind
they could. There's no credibility, right? And that's like that's the hard thing, right? When you're building like a new certification, is getting people to say, "Okay, your certification is better than their own certification," right? That's absolutely key, and it takes a bit for that to be adopted. So is this something that the like you said, the America, you did the first thing there in the United States, and really the Americas is what you said.
No, well,
Is that
actually, it's that the golf course was in the Americas. I only deal with uh, the U.S. and Canada.
gotcha? But my question is this: was all of this is new to the U.S., right? It was
Yeah.
established elsewhere first, and then coming here, right? So we're a bit behind. So we're
Yes, we are.
adopting what others had already been doing.
Yes, for a
Gotcha.
long time.
Yeah, because it's
We would
interesting.
call the U.S. laggards on the diffusion of innovation bell curve. There are laggards,
Sure.
there are innovators, there are early adopters, there's early majority, late majority. So it's like when touch tone phones went away. I mean, rotary phones went away.
Yeah.
There were some people who had never switched over, and then they until they were made to, until it was no longer available. You couldn't have rotary phones; they wouldn't work. So then they
Oh
say,
yeah. No,
okay,
I think my parents were like the last people to get rid of a rotary phone.
yeah, I think it was a couple dollars more a month or something to have touch tone. But after a while, that's all there was. It's like
Yeah.
incandescent light bulbs. You can't really even
Yeah.
buy those old time light bulbs anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people
No,
had to
they're
go
not
to
easy to find.
LED. Yeah, they had to go to LED because that's all there was to buy. That's all there is to buy now. So yeah,
Yeah. 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 No, I
and
remember
sometimes
I mean,
people
that's
need to be
big
made
style.
to do, and it's a great marketing tool to be certified because you're third party verified, audited, that you are doing what you say you're doing, and that's a great marketing advantage right now, and in this particularly in the U.S. because not a lot of hotels are doing this. So
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so the adoption here is it still rather slow here in the United States?
yes, in my opinion, many of the brands have come out and made a commitment to Green Key certification. But when I go to hotels, now remember, you got the brand that buys in, then you have the management company, and then you have the hotel. When I go to hotels, they've never even heard of it. So, and owners, they have brand standards, but
Yeah.
many of them don't have those standards as being required. They have their brand standards that are required. So when you go into a Hilton hotel or Marriott, you know you're in one or the other because of
Right.
their brand standards. And
Right.
then, but when you go to the hotel level, they've never even heard of it. What is Green Key? I don't know. Never heard of it. Nobody's making us do it. So it's still a hard sell.
Yeah, but so you got to show benefit though, right?
Yes.
And beyond an altruistic benefit, obviously. That's what
Yes.
we're talking about here. And
And
so
I have
is there
case studies.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Is there do you have some facts about that you can spout off for us
Yeah, well,
that
I mentioned the refillable
Yeah, sure.
shampoos and
Yeah, the
saving
savings
that
there
money.
on that type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
And they did
there's
start a long time ago. Do they still do that where you just, hey, look, if you leave the towels on the floor, we'll wash them. If you don't, then you can reuse them type of thing, right? Which is so simple, but it works.
Yes, yes, exactly. Sometimes some hotels or brands have an opt-out program where you can say, "Oh, I don't need any housekeeping at all." But in my mind, your trash can should be and your bed should be made and your trash can emptied, even if you're reusing the linens. When I go to a hotel, I want somebody to make the bed for me because I have to make my own bed. I want to go away on vacation. I want somebody else to make the bed. And if I've, had food brought in or in-room dining, I want you to come in and take out the trash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah,
really that opting out completely is really a labor saving, cost saving, and not an
yeah,
environmental one because the
yeah.
trash still has
The
to be
trash is
taken.
still there. It's going to come out eventually anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
this is to me, this is very interesting. At one hotel, they had like two sizes of trash liners. So extra large and large. And so the little trash can next to your desk in your office, had this big trash liner. It only had like a
yeah.
coffee cup in it. And the housekeepers are told to empty the trash. And so one cup in there, big long trash liner, being thrown out all the time. So
Big piece of
what we
plastic
did,
to carry a little piece of plastic.
yes. And so what we did was we designed the whole trash system to where there was a container where it was needed. For example, any kind of food or and beverage in an office only needed one trash can. Everybody could put their that could be emptied every day, right? But if you had your little desk side paper recycling container, that was only emptied when it was full, right? And there was no trash liner. So if you have the right size container with the right size trash liner and have
Yeah,
processes in place that that trash liner doesn't have any, it's not for food and beverage and there's no food and beverage in it, leave it until tomorrow because there's hardly anything in it. So it's an operational change. Imagine
right.
saving $45,000 a year just doing that for trash liners. That's how much money was
Yeah,
saved.
yeah. That's
Trash
and the
liners.
positive yeah, and then you also have the positive impact on the planet too. I mean, there's auditable data that can be utilized for reporting uh, on many different levels just by doing that, right?
Yeah,
You've got
exactly.
labor costs, you got energy costs, you got carbon cost savings, you've got plastic phase, you got waste to landfill savings, all that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
and another example
Freeing
is
up capital, all that type of thing.
yeah, another example is there was a hotel located on the beach here, and one thing that's not on the P&L, well, there are many things that aren't. We looked into purchasing. How many single-use plastic items are you buying per year and throwing in the landfill? 2.6 million. One hotel,
I-
one
In
year.
revenue or pieces?
Pieces,
I
2.6
got you.
million plastic items because they didn't have a recycling program in place. And they were shocked. It's like, well, we didn't know that. Yeah, you have to dig into your purchasing system. How many cases of cups are you buying? How many cases of cutlery and all of that? And when you do that, they were absolutely shocked. They reduced by 30% to get started, and they saved
Yeah,
$35,000 the first year, and that was just
yeah,
getting started like by the pool. So there's lots of ways that people don't even think of. When I go into a hotel in the back of the house and I look at where they're storing all their supplies, it's enormous, the amount that reusables
yeah,
could definitely. You don't have to have any disposable items at a pool. You can get bento boxes. You can get the little reusable cups to put a ketchup in or something like that. So there are many ways to reduce.
yeah. No, there definitely are the convenience. I don't even know that there is a convenience factor there. I don't know what. I mean, we're sold a bill of goods, and we all bought it,
And
basically,
and
for a
who
long
wants
time.
to
I mean, I'm
who
not
wants
saying
to
there's no use for it, but there's certainly a lot of convenience that we just do that we go, why am I doing that? That doesn't make any sense.
exactly because it's what we've always done.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that is like one of our biggest problems is we just do things because we always do it that way.
Yeah,
Nobody's forced me to nobody's forced me to change.
right.
Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. So is it are you it says hospitality. Is it totally just in the hotels or are you working on in other hospitality type of places? Because hospitality is a big industry. It's not just hotels and
Yes.
resorts.
Yes, I can get certified venues, for example, convention
Mm-hmm.
centers and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
destinations. I can certify the destination, or get certified. I can't certify. Get certifications for the destination as a whole, the whole destination marketing organization or convention and visitors bureau. They can get a certification. Tourist attractions can be certified. Outdoor
Yeah.
events can be certified, indoor events. So the Event Industry Council has a set of standards for that purpose, as well as the ISO. I don't know if you've ever heard of ISO,
Oh,
but
of course. Yeah.
the International Organization of Standards, and they have
Yeah.
a standard that came out in 2012 for outdoor events, and the London Olympics was the first one to utilize it. So your big outdoor
Gotcha.
events can be certified to that standard. So I can do all of those types of
So you're strictly coming in and introducing new services and new ways of doing things, right? Your company isn't selling them a product other than, I mean, the consultancy, right? And bringing this and show them the path forward and how to make savings and create efficiencies in both sustainability and operational or revenue, the revenue side. So you're selling to the CFO, right?
many times that's a good place to go when you can show
Yeah.
savings, but you can't give that CFO anything concrete until you've walked through the property and done an assessment, and
Oh,
then you
a
can
hundred,
consider.
hundred
Yeah,
percent, hundred
yeah.
percent. Yeah, 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 yeah,
So let me
yeah,
tell you
yeah.
what I did to solve for that.
Okay.
Green Key has a program, and they have templates and things like that can help people go through the process because there's a lot of documentation you have to have, policies,
Hmm.
written procedures. They have to be in writing, show that you've trained your employees in these various criteria. So what I found was that for me to go one hotel at a time, number one, that's not a very good. You're trading time for money as a consultant, right? Um,
Mm.
so what I did was I took the Green Key program and I created a training program. Green Key doesn't
Okay.
have a training program, but now I have that program. I'm a preferred vendor. They have. I've partnered with them. I created this program so people could do it themselves. It's a do it yourself because a lot of times people don't want to pay for consultants, as you may be aware. They're like, "Oh dear, we don't want to do that." But here they can do it themselves. The
Yeah.
whole train, and I provide all sample policies they need. I've got 7 of those policies for them. I have 34 written procedures and different things that they need to have. And so they can download all those. They go through the training. The training for the management people is 3 hours. The training for staff is just 2 hours. So just 2 hours of training because training is a requirement. It's part of the Green Key criteria. You've got to train your employees. And this
Ah.
training they can do on their own, self-paced training and get everything they need. And then if they want some help, they can reach out to me and I can consult with them. But I wanted to give people a way to be able to get started on their own. And I don't have to be
Wow.
involved at all if they don't choose to.
So it's just straight up online training
Yes,
courses?
yes. And it's the only one. It's the only one of its kind.
That is really tremendous. And are you finding good adoption of it, or is it being met well,
I think I
or is it
I
pretty still early? Right. I mean, you're still fighting the good fight, right?
yeah, to some extent, but I also think that the people to reach um, to make the decision are not on LinkedIn. I mean, they may have a profile, but they're not seeing the marketing and all the other
Yeah.
social media. That's even less than LinkedIn. So I'm
Yeah.
in the process of working with someone to help me reach out to the decision makers. For example, management companies. So I'll be calling management companies, say, hey, why don't we get your entire portfolio of 50 hotels certified? And then you can claim you're the only management company in the whole United States at this point that has all their hotels certified. What do you say? You know, because a
Yeah.
market,
No, I mean,
yeah, a
if
management
you can
company.
show them a good ROI on the investment in that and proof, use cases, then yeah, you just
Well,
got
a
to get it in
management
writing.
company, their main focus is to get more hotels into their portfolio to manage.
Of
That's
course,
their
of
business.
course.
And then also
Yeah,
manage the hotels. So that's a selling point for them. It's like, hey, well, if you bring your property here, you're going to be a sustainable property.
yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
And
That's
then
a
they
great
can market
idea.
themselves as having their portfolio sustained or
That's
certified.
awesome.
Yeah,
So we just got a
I
little bit
think
of
so.
time left. Let's switch gears for a second. Let's
Okay.
do podcast. Tell me
Pardon?
about your podcast. Tell me about your podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was I did some research and there was no podcast for sustainable hospitality. There are many dozens for hospitality itself, but not sustainable
Sure.
hospitality. So a friend of mine became the co-host and we reached out to different people who are doing great things in this field and interviewing them, whether they're a tourist destination or we've got a wide range of people. I've interviewed chefs that know how to reduce waste in the culinary department before the food is even sent out to guests. It's like their kitchen is very sustainable. They reuse the bread and pastry from the morning to make something else for lunch and things like that. So like a bread pudding kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's a wide variety. I've interviewed people that I've helped get certified to Green Key, and I just love it. We've taken a little bit of break here since April, but I'm starting up again because she's gone on to do something else, and so we're regrouping. I'm regrouping right now.
I gotcha. So the name of the podcast is
Sustainable Hospitality Podcast.
Sustainable Hospitality. That's
And
easy.
it's on
Sustainable.
YouTube and all and Apple and Spotify. So it's
Yeah,
video and
all the
audio.
rooms. Yeah, fantastic. And who needs to be reaching out, and where do they go to have your consultancy come in and show them how to get Green Key certified?
They can come to Sustainable Hospitality Solutions and reach out to me there. There's a contact form, or my email is Kathy at sustainablehospitalitysolutions.com.
There you go. It's fantastic. Kathy, thank you so much for coming on. It's really interesting stuff. And I love the approach. It's what I preach constantly is sustainability is business 101. It's the efficiencies, it's everything. Anybody who's running a company and goes sustainability, oh, we got to stay away from it. No, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It makes sense if you do it the right way, right? I
That's
mean,
right.
you just got to apply your business mind to it. And
Yeah.
it's fantastic to see an entrepreneur like yourself branching out and doing this, because I contend the whole thing is this massively positive impact on business, the environment, society. And it's just a blue ocean of opportunity for entrepreneurs.
Yes, and I
Fantastic
appreciate it
stuff.
so much, the opportunity to share with your audience what I'm doing. And I really appreciate you reaching out to me to talk about
Of
it.
course. Yeah, just trying to highlight different people and what they're doing. Is it, are you, so we've talked a lot about North America, et cetera. You're not limited to just the US and North America, are you? You're like, hey, you want to come to Tahiti for a couple months on our dime and consult with us? You do that, right?
Yes, I would.
Gotcha. So fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Any place that's not over 100 degrees. So I'll
Okay, so you're
go.
not going to Dubai, are you?
No.
But like, are you going to, like, Iceland? Would be fantastic, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
going north, Scandinavia would be
Yeah.
fantastic. That'd
They're
be
doing
fun.
great work on their own. I don't think they need
Yeah,
me.
those countries are way ahead of us, right? That's where
Yes.
we're actually trying to catch up to. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, for
Fantastic
sure.
stuff, Kathy. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. I
My
appreciate
pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everybody else, thank you for tuning in and downloading and listening to us rant and rave and talk and chat. And it's been fantastic. We'll see you guys next time. Peace and love.